Hello, beautiful people. It's Chinyere Gloria Madwikwe, a Nigerian mom and wife currently living in Madrid, Spain. Welcome once again, and this is a continuation of our relocation to Spain on a sponsored visa. Kindly check my page for the part 1 if you've not seen it yet. To disclaimer here, I am not an immigration specialist and I am in no way affiliated with any firm or government agency. All information shared here are based on my experience so far. Kindly do your own research. Documents were available on the set date, like 2 months after the appointment, and they sent us a mail to come pick up our legalized documents. So we picked up our legalized documents, and at that point in time, the legalized documents we've gotten they were sent to the firm that gave my husband the job, and the firm helped us to translate the document to Spanish, because this is important in processing work permit, resident permit. So what they did was we sent them the document, they translated it to Spanish, and they processed my husband's work permit and resident permit. But something happened. In this case, my husband's work permit was ready, like it was ready before I and the children's work permit, because for mine the marriage certificate was needed, and the thing took time. Like, it took, because of the marriage certificate, the legalization period took a whole lot of time. It took approximately 2 months. So by that time my husband's work permit was ready, so my husband had to apply to the Spanish consulate for his visa. So when our own was ready, what we did was we had to send the document to the firm. They did the translation and started processing our resident permit. So for us, as I and the children, as my husband's dependents, what they did was to process a unification. What they did was to process the resident permit, since we would be applying for a unification visa. So when the resident permit was ready, we had to write the Spanish consulate to book an appointment for the visa. We booked the appointment for the visa, and when it was on that set date, we arrived on time. So I think it's as a result of this highly qualified professional visa. So what we had to do on that day, we ensured that all the documents were complete and they were submitted together with our passports, and we left hoping to get an email, because that was the instruction. You get an email for you to come for your visa, whether it is approved or not. So we were waiting patiently, and I think it took almost 10 days or more, because usually it takes from 10 days and above. But at that point in time, we got a mail, and we were asked to come to pick up our visas, and we did. So when our visas were ready, we had to reach out to the firm, informing them that our visas were ready, because we've been in constant communication with the firm, and we've been providing feedback on our journey so far. So when our visas were ready, they asked us to check for our flight itinerary, and we were able to look out for flights going to Spain. That all those things wouldn't have been possible within a short time, so they were extending the resumption date. So when our visas came out, we reached out to the firm, and everything just happened so quickly. So when we sent them the available flights for the particular day we were supposed to go, they were able to book it. They sent us the details, and also for an apartment too, because part of my husband's negotiation with this said firm was, since we are Nigerians living in Lagos, Nigeria, and we'll be moving to a new country, my husband thought it wise that, for us to settle in properly, we needed a place to stay. So it was part of the negotiation of a relocation package. So the company had to using an outsourcing partner, they sent us details of available accommodation for us to pick from, and we were able to pick the one we felt was comfortable enough. So they sent us details of the flights as well, and it was Air France. So we started going through Air France airline, what it is how like how our luggages are supposed to be packed, and we were able to pack essential things. So when we got on the set date, our flight was supposed to be in the night. It was supposed to be at 11:50 on a Wednesday, but the way it happened, the flight was delayed for some reasons. They communicated that, but they didn't communicate that to us on time. So when we got there, when we were trying to check in our luggages, what we found out was that, okay, even when we found out that we're supposed to have 23 kg, because as a family of 4, is where things got so interesting. So we carried out our research and we found out that, since as a family of 4, and my daughter clocked 2 in January this year, so 3 seat tickets were bought for us, and my son that is still below 1, of course I will have to carry him. So we found out that the luggages have to be 23 kg for the three persons that would occupy, for the 3 of us that will occupy the 3 seats. Then for my son it has to be 10 kg, and what we have, the essentials we have to carry, they were more than the total kg of load we're supposed to carry. So what my husband did was to reach out to them, because I think it was really it was not really seamless reaching out to them, because when he even got the mail, there were some things he had to reach out to them via WhatsApp. Like, he did a lot of reaching out, and they're for him to be able to for us to be able to let them know, or process that we are carrying an extra load. I think there's a fee we're supposed to pay in euros, I think 180 euros. So we had to look for a way to pay that fee. And then when it was on the day when we're supposed to travel, we got to the airport on time, and then they told us that they've delayed the flight. When we were doing the checking in, they still came and told us that we were supposed to have each luggage 23 kg. It shouldn't be more, and there should be one that should be for 10 kg. So all these things, we had to open our bags. We started checking. We even had to buy extra bags at the airport. We started unpacking and repacking. We'll come back and weigh again to ensure that it properly aligns with what they would allow us to, so we don't need to pay extra. So like I mentioned earlier, we paid 180 euros to allow us carry an extra luggage. And when we go to the airport, they mentioned that each luggage for the 3 of us has to be 23 kg or less than. So if it will be more, I think you have to pay for every 9 kg. You have to pay an additional. I've even forgotten that part already, because at that point I was tired carrying the children. My husband was doing the unpacking. He did a whole lot of things, trying to ensure that our bags, everything was intact. And when they delayed the flight, they sent us a message. We were already at the airport that delayed the flight, and they are trying to work on the connecting flight, because the flight that we were boarding was Air France. And when we got to the point where we had to bid our family members and friends goodbye, because I had my friends, my family members, my mother-in-law was available, my sister, my co-wife, brother-in-law, a lot of people were they came to support us. And when we left, there were series of processes for someone like me that I've not traveled outside. Yeah, I've traveled outside Nigeria, but to a neighboring to a country in West Africa, that we share boundaries with. So I've not gone outside Africa as a whole. So it was a new experience, and I was so tired carrying the children. And at some point I felt unease. I was even what is all these immigration people at the checkpoint? I was like, why is this man taking time? There was one we went to, he was asking us, what do you do, why are you going there, asking series of questions. I was so tired carrying my son. My husband was like, just calm down, you just have to be patient. You just have to be understanding that, I mean, these are the processes it will take. I was like, okay, finally. So when it was time for us to board, even before we boarded, Air France crew, they served us with food. They apologized for the whole delay and all, and they assured us that they were working on the connecting flight and also. And one thing I didn't mention earlier was, we the flight itinerary we sent to the firm that paid for our flight tickets. What we looked on, what my husband emphasized on was delay over time. Like I mentioned, there isn't a direct flight from Lagos or from Nigeria to Spain. Like I mentioned earlier, either you go through Morocco, France, or other countries. You just make your research and check. So what we saw for the Air France, we saw that the layover was 3 hours, and I was even telling my husband initially that 3 hours is too long. Like my husband said no, that most airports are so long before you would even navigate your way to the connecting flights, that you may end up missing that flight. And time is of essence here because it is a place we've not been to, so we need to. So we just looked at it and we were like, okay, that's fine. But then when they delayed this flight, the layover that was 3 hours and 40 minutes shortened. So but then we boarded the flight from Lagos to France, to Paris, Charles de Gaulle Airport. The flight was peaceful, no turbulence. For someone like my husband that has traveled, that has been on an international flight before, the experience he had then, I mean, my experience was quite peaceful. So the seats we had were, from the seats they gave us then, the seat wasn't conducive. So but we had an Air France personnel that was able to change the seats and provided us with a bassinet for my son. So it was cool, it was chilly, it was a good experience. They served us food, everything was fine. Then we got to Charles de Gaulle Airport. When we got there, the temperature there was, I think at that point in time it was 9 degrees. Like I could see the smoke coming out from my husband's mouth at that point in time, and we had to carry, my husband was carrying my daughter, and there were buses available to take us close to, since we were actually on a connecting flight. So there were buses that we entered, buses available for people to enter. So we entered a bus that like dropped us close to where we would like navigate our way to the connecting flights. So when we got to the entrance, we had a lot of they had a lot of checkpoints. You go from one place to the other. I was like, is this how it is? The experience was just funny, and we were looking at the time and we were like, oh god, let us not miss this flight. Oh, let us not miss this flight. That's how interesting it goes. So we were moving from one point to the other. They were checking every single thing, even the children's water bottle, from one point to the other. I was like, this airport is so big. Like from one point to the other, we were just moving. My husband was just motivating and encouraging me, because at that point I was tired carrying my child and our hand luggages. We're just trying to move. At some point I felt like fainting at some point, because I started running, we started checking, going from one point to the other, trying to navigate. Then we got to a point where there was border police at the Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. So at that point in time, there was a lady at our back. I think she was also boarding the connecting flight from Paris to Spain. So she was not like, they've sent us a message that checking in is closing in, like we just need to hurry up. And when she said it, I looked at my husband and was like, hey, we've missed this flight too. He was like, relax. He was just giving me this assurance, and I felt, oh, okay, fine. Then when we got past the border police, almost at some point we started running. My husband did most of the running, because at some point I almost gave up, but I had the encouragement from my husband. My husband had to go forward, got to the point where you present your passport. We need to like check in and board. Then we boarded. Then from the window, when we boarded, from the window, I was telling my husband that I saw some officials wheeling like I saw some of our luggages. It was like, yeah, so that's the whole idea of connecting flight, that they will be the ones to wheel, they will be the ones to move your luggages to the plane, and they would like sort it out. And we're like, fine. We enjoyed the flight as well, but there was turbulence, and each time there will be turbulence, they would advise, the pilot would communicate and they'll tell you what to do. Your seat belt has to be fastened and all. So then we got to Spain. When we got to Spain, we came out, we were like, okay, how do we locate where we would get our luggages and all, where we pick up our luggages and all. So what we had in mind was that, okay, anybody will see, will ask the person, hablas English. I mean, at that point in time, or we'll tell the person, or ask the person, do you speak English? Some people will tell you no. I mean, you're in Spain, their lingua franca is Spanish, Espanol, so you have to at least understand to a conversational level. So someone advised us on where to go to get our luggages. We got down. When we got down to that place, so I think when we got down to that place, there was also someone else too that was also trying to locate his luggage. It was his first time as well. So we were there. I and the children was there. My husband had to use the restroom, and when he came back, he was like he actually found the place, because how it is set up. It is set up in a way that there is usually a signpost that will tell you from Paris to Madrid, this is where you queue up and wait for your luggage. But we didn't know. But I mean, it was an eye opener. It was a first time experience, and we were happy about it. So we got there, we saw Paris to Madrid, and we were there. We were able to pick up our luggages. But then we noticed that just one of our boxes were not there, and we were like, let's just wait. So we waited. The thing was just going, that thing that where you put loads, that it would just go round, go back and come, like where you be picking your luggage from. We were there, we waited. I was like, it's like these people left our bag. So my husband had to look for where to lay the complaints. He went there. It took a whole lot of time because we were there. My children, they were disturbing. My husband went there. He had to lay the complaints. They gave him a document. I think they had to a document indicating the reference of his complaint, and it was they told him that the bag was still in Madrid. So I think it was it was still in Paris. It was an oversight from their end, maybe because we boarded late, and they had to move our luggages on time, because I think it's logical, because they don't just move luggages without seeing if people boarded or not. So they had to wait for us to board, then they moved. So what they told my husband was like they would deliver it the next day. But so we were like, okay. And then in the airport, my husband had to go to do some currency exchange, because he had already withdrawn some money in dollars. Very important, because I mean, moving to a new country, you need some money, because you don't just go there and be waiting. He has to actually work for a particular point in time before he will get paid. He has not started work yet, so at least we needed some money. So we had some money, some FX that he had to withdraw. He had to withdraw dollars, and when we came to the airport in Madrid, we had to look for a place to convert the dollars to euros, because what they use in Spain is euros. So my husband had to look for it. Was very far from where we were at that point in time. He had to look for the place to make this exchange. And do you know, at that point in time, I was left with my 2 children, and I was like, okay, all is fine. We had our luggages close by, and then my daughter started complaining, started looking for her father. She wants daddy, she wants this. Oh God, at that point in time, I was almost frustrated. I even had to call my husband. In all of this, I was so impatient, and I was so, whether it was frustration, I wasn't happy because one of our bags was still in Paris and it wasn't complete. Me, I don't like anything being incomplete at all. So and I had to call my husband. Your daughter is disturbing. She's really disturbing. So I just had to be calm. At that point, later my husband came, and we left. We started pushing our loads. And what I noticed again with the way people behave at the airport was, when we were coming out, when we were leaving the airport, we were exiting the airport, we noticed that people were on a queue. You have to queue up to enter a taxi. And because of our load too, I mean, we were seeing taxis, small cars, like that couldn't carry our load, so we had to wait. My husband had to go and talk to a man that had a bus, a mini bus that would accommodate us all. So when he got to the man was speaking Spanish, and thank God for Google Translator. Even think that when we were in Nigeria, I will do a story on that. When we were in Nigeria, there were things we were preparing ourselves for, aside understanding what Spain is all about, their laws and everything. We had to think of a way to start learning this language, because staying in this country, we need to understand what the people speak, at least to a conversational level. So then in Nigeria, we were using Duolingo, an app for learning, and it was perfect, because most times me and my husband would learn this. We were always doing the challenge. Man agreed. He came to the spot where I and the children and our loads were, and the first thing this man said was "Tienes sillas para los bebés," and he said it so, like, he said it so fast. If he had said it this way, maybe would have understood, okay, sillas, would have understood babies and all, but we were like, what is this man saying? The man also had Google Translator. We also had Google Translator. Thank God for Google Translator. We were like, okay, that's fine, and we understood. And the man was able to like set it up well. We got in with our loads. Then the man drove us down to the apartment. When we got down from the bus, Obi had to reach out to the person that his contact was given to reach out to when we get to the apartment. Then we reached out to the person, and a lady came out from the apartment, helped us with our loads, took us to the apartment, and we had to go to the apartment. We started trying to like understand the apartment that was given to us. We had to set our things, arrange our things. Then we started thinking of how I was really worried, because I was like, our bag, I don't know how this thing is, so let them not tell us excuses. So Bobby was like, I should just relax and be calm, that I should not worry, that we started roaming our numbers already, that the next day we would go out to get a SIM card see if we can open an account, first things first, to ensure we make our stay, we settle in properly before we even think of doing registrations and other documentations.